Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. You say, what's that have to do with contribution? Well, a whole lot. Because when I read through the New Testament and I'm putting together passages about worship, contribution, you can look at 1 Corinthians 16, look at 1 and 2. It's a command, and it's part of my worship, along with singing and praying and Lord's Supper and other things. Part of it. And my worship ought to be done, including my contribution, in such a way that pleases God. In spirit and in truth. The right way, with the right spirit, the right emotion, the right heart in it, basically. Now turn to Matthew chapter 13. Let's look at this passage. Not probably often referred to, about contribution. Verses 44 to 46. 2 parables in 3 verses. And the lesson's yours. So we're going to break it down just a bit, so don't run out right after I read this, because we got something to say about it, as God has. So here's Jesus talking. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and he hid. He put it back. It wasn't his. And for the joy over it, he goes and he sells all that he has, and he buys that field. The treasure is now his, legally. And again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, he went and he sold all that he had, and he bought it. Now here's this merchant we're looking at here, who's out there searching for just the right pearl. And when he finds this one, he's been buying and selling for a long time. This is the one. And I want you to notice, out of both of these parables, that he put in, or he gave, we're talking about contributions, we can say, put in all that he had. Gave all that he had. I don't know if there's anybody in here, maybe there is. Probably when you're a kid you've done this, if that's the situation. But to have gave all that he had in order to buy something else. Could you imagine? I'm looking the wrong direction. They don't have bank accounts. They got debts over here on this side of the college group. Could you imagine taking everything you've got in banks and whatevers and houses and cars, and you sell it all, absolute every penny, just to go buy one thing? I can't. Can't imagine. And yet, this is exactly what this guy does. And as we're watching what's going on here, there's something that we're supposed to get out of all of this. He didn't ask how much. To start with, he just gave it all. And again, I can't imagine that. I like going to Granada, and I like going out and buying a car. Just a bargain. Whatever it is, it's too much. Have you been there? You know what I'm talking about? I don't want that price. I want less. You know, Melanie and I would go shopping sometimes in these little markets in Nicaragua, and she'll whisper, we'll bet $5 no more. And she leaves. She leaves it up to me to kind of wrestle with the price. It's too much, you know. We always bargain, don't we? The guy doesn't bargain. He doesn't say, oh, that's just too much. Let's see if we can get it lower. He just, oh, that's great. I'll just give you everything I've got. Doesn't even think about it. Now, this is where God wants us to be. And no sum is actually put in there. It's just going to cost you everything. And as you're going through this, and after you've given it all, and we go back to the guy with the treasure, and it says, he bought it, and for the joy over it, he goes and he sells all that he has, and he buys the field. He's excited about the price. because it's a bargain. Now maybe you've bought bargains before because you got it at a great deal, but you never bought something and spent everything you had and then go away being excited, because you more go away going, man, that sure cost a lot. But he was excited that he got to give everything he had, because what he got in exchange was worth everything and so much more. And that's the point. How much do we put in? How much do you get out is really the question. Does it seem reasonable that what you're putting in is comparable to what you're getting out? Really, probably not. My guess is two things could be happening. Number one, you're not doing a whole lot, you're not getting much out because you're not connected. But you might be getting a whole lot more out than what you're putting in. When you think about what God has done for us, and by sure, that's true. Never felt cheated. He was excited about getting that deal. Now, if we had a time machine, and I don't play the lottery, never do. There's a lot of reasons why I don't like to gamble. I just don't like to. I don't want you lose too much, but that's beside the point. But if you could go back in time about a month ago, just before all this was going on about the lottery that was like $1.6 billion, but you knew what the number was going to be because you're going back in time, you might be tempted to buy one lottery ticket, wouldn't you? And if it cost all that you had, and let's say you had $100,000 in the bank, not this group, over here on this side, you'd go ahead and spend it anyway because you're going to get $1.6 billion. No problem. I'm excited about that. And that's the thing. The guy, when he walks away with what he has, is excited because he still won out. Because what he had in comparison to what he ended up buying is so much different that he's excited about it. God wants us to be willing to give it all and then recognize we got so much more in exchange, you see. Our giving ought to reflect that. I'm excited about what Central does with its budget. We don't waste a lot of money. Now, occasionally somebody comes in and the lights are left on, or I'll come in on an off day, as an off day, no church service going on. I'm here, and I hear the toilet running. Oh, well, that's been 2 days since that thing's been running. How many dollars, you know? That's my mind. Go there, fix it real quick, dig a little handle. But we don't waste money. They count pennies. Dennis and I, every other day in Nicaragua, are eating granola bars for breakfast. We ate beans and rice and that was eating out. And then the other days we're eating granola bars and drinking juice or coffee. And skip lunches occasionally and other things. Not so much to be frugal all the way through, but we're not just being flamboyant either. What we want to do is do some good with being there. And we all feel that way about everything we give towards, with our time and our money. And this is both of what we're talking about this morning. How much do you put in, you see? And it ought to relate to what you feel about Central and what we're involved in. I feel good about what's going on at the Student Center. Yeah, it's right across here. Look at the number of people that are here. And did you happen to know when we did the show of hands of how many went to Nicaragua? A majority of these people raised their hands, and they've been other places too, and they're going and doing other things, and they're out around the campus evangelizing, and they're doing things you can't imagine. And that's just part of what we're giving into, and they're spreading it everywhere too. And then you could talk about Petapudi and Surrey and all the stuff that he's doing, and then all in Nicaragua. It's just incredible. The giveaway and so much more. And that's not even the things that we count individually that's done, by the ladies giving food and taking things here and all that stuff, and so much more. I'm excited about what we do at Central. I love putting money into the budget because I know where it goes, at least a part of it. And some of it stays hidden because I don't have to know everything and there's so much more going on. Can't even begin to measure it. But I'm so excited about it. makes me think that God really is pleased about what we're up to. But it also tells us something about what we feel about God and how much we appreciate Him, what we put in. That's where this guy with the treasure, I mean, he felt like he got it great because he knew what he could get out of it. Back a couple months ago, I guess it was now, a fellow named Mark Zuckerberg, this group knows that name, well done, some of you might recognize it. The guy that started Facebook, and you go, the what? Over here. Billionaire, not millionaire, billionaire. Has a baby daughter. He's so excited about it. He's so grateful he gives away 99% of his Facebook stock. Estimated $45 billion. Because he's so excited, you see. About that time, we get a little grandson. Starts hitting home. Makes me think about taking off and doing mission work and paying for it myself. And we do. So excited about it. Being able to give out stuff because of what God's dumping in my life. And I can't give it out fast enough because He keeps pouring all of these things in here. You can just say salvation, that's enough right there. But there's so much. That's reflected in what we put in. How excited we are about what God has done for us. How appreciative we are. Let's come back to that question. Once in a while, you ought to wrestle with, how much should you put in? And again, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man, when he found it, he buried it back again, hides it again, and for all the joy over it. He goes and he sells all that he had, and he buys the field. And again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who when he had found one pearl of great price, he went and he sold all that he had, and he bought it. And he wasn't cheated. He was blessed. And neither would we. What we put in, we ought to be able to match the budget that Dennis talked about and double it. Really? Yeah, really. We find ways to do so much more other stuff out there in the world. And there's a lot of things that we do here in addition to the budget. I'm happy for when Central's involved. But once in a while, you ought really to wrestle with, how much am I putting in? Where do I give? It ought to reflect what God has done for us, how proud we are for what we do, and realization God deserves absolutely all of it. And if we gave Him everything, we wouldn't be cheated. Not in the least. Not for what we get afterwards. Blessing's yours. If you're not right with God, contribution, whatever it is, your heart's not right, then get it right. And if it's a public issue,